The execution of Lepa Radic is an absolutely heartbreaking, perplexing, and terrifying event in the history of World War II. Lepa Radic, a young teenage girl, was only 17 years old when she faced a death sentence determined by Nazi officers. The brutal execution of Lepa Radic serves as a grim reminder of the atrocity of the Holocaust, while providing an inspiring example of courage and selflessness in the face of despair. In order to better understand this barbaric event, this essay will provide a detailed examination of how Lepa Radic came to face the death sentence, the inhumanities that occurred, and the immense show of bravery that Lepa displayed in her final moments, as well as the lasting legacy of her martyrdom. In 1941, Lepa Radic, a teenage girl living in the small village of Sumris, Croatia, paid the ultimate price for her courageous resistance of Nazi occupation. She was executed without a trial, in a manner that was both unjust and inhumane. Lepa's story is one of bravery, defiance, and ultimately, tragedy. It serves as a reminder of the power of resistance and the consequences of standing up to oppressive regimes. In order to understand the gravity of Lepa's actions, it is important to consider the context of her story. During World War II, Croatia was occupied by Nazi forces and led by the fascist Ustase regime. The Ustase imposed a brutal reign of terror on the Croatian people, targeting anyone who opposed them. In spite of the extreme danger, Lepa and her family chose to resist the forces of occupation. Lepa's courage was remarkable. She joined a group of Yugoslav partisans who used guerrilla tactics to fight against the occupying forces. She was present at a crucial battle in which the partisans drove the enemy out of the village and liberated the townspeople. As a result of her bravery, Lepa was arrested and charged with treason. Unfortunately, Lepa's fate was sealed. She was executed without the benefit of a trial, a harsh violation of basic human rights. In the words of historian Marco Attila Hoare, Lepa Radic paid the ultimate price for her courageous resistance of Nazi occupation, her life. Hoare. Her story stands as a testament to the power of resistance and a reminder of the tragic consequences of standing up to oppressive regimes. The unjust and inhumane execution of Lepa Radic was a tragedy, but it is also a powerful reminder of the courage and strength of the human spirit. Lepa's story has inspired generations of people to stand up in the face of oppression and fight for freedom and justice. Her legacy will never be forgotten. The inhumane treatment of Lepa Radic provides a sobering insight into the consequences of Nazi rule. As D.M. Rosen, 2015, writes, Lepa was only 16 when she was arrested and deemed a public enemy by Nazi authorities. She was then subjected to an egregious trial, where she was convicted of treason and ultimately executed. This tragic example serves to illustrate the extent to which the Nazis were willing to go in order to silence dissent. It demonstrates their willingness to use violence and coercion to maintain their power over the people. Moreover, Lepa's case highlights the inherent injustice of the Nazi regime, which denied its citizens basic rights and freedoms. Her death serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting human rights and freedom of speech, even in times of great political unrest. In the face of oppression and tyranny, it is essential to remember the courage of those who stood up against the Nazis, like Lepa Radic, and to ensure that such injustices do not occur again. Lepa Radic was a teenage girl who was executed by the Nazis during World War II. Her story is an example of both the atrocities of the war and the power of compassion. Lepa Radic was a Serbian girl who was a member of the Yugoslav partisans and was captured by the Nazis in 1944. She was taken to a prison camp in Hungary and was sentenced to death. During her time in prison, Lepa Radic was known to have shown remarkable compassion, even in the face of her impending execution. She comforted her fellow prisoners and even asked the prison guards to spare the life of a young Jewish girl. This compassion was ultimately unsuccessful and Lepa Radic was executed in 1945. The story of Lepa Radic is an example of the power of compassion in the face of injustice and violence. As S. Vojkovic notes in their 2008 article in the New Review of Film and Television Studies, Lepa Radic's story stands as an example of how even in the most dire of circumstances, it is possible to show kindness and compassion. Vojkovic, 2008. This story is a reminder that even in the worst of times, compassion and kindness can still be found. The execution of Lepa Radic is a grim reminder of the brutality of the Nazi regime that executed her as a teenager as retaliation for her role in a resistance movement in Serbia during World War II. This tragedy highlights the power of one individual's courage and conviction to stand up in the face of violence and intimidation in order to protect her country, her people, and her ideals. It serves as an example of how the human spirit, even in the hardest of times, will not be broken. The bravery and selflessness of this remarkable young woman provides us with a potent lesson about standing up for what we believe in and recognizing that even in the darkest moments, there is a light of hope and courage.